it might be the most famous premiere in all of music history. You've got controversy, you've got a riot, and you've got one really weird bassoon solo. Welcome to the Rite of Spring. Welcome back to Tempo, everybody. I'm your host, Siriana Lundgren, and today we're going to be exploring the history behind the Billings Symphony's next concert, a tribute to the Ballet Russe. Today I want to tackle one central question. What really happened the night the Rite of Spring premiered? Before we get to the truth, I say there's no harm in taking a look at the legend. Igor Stravinsky himself, composer of the Rite of Spring, used to tell this story. May 29th, 1913. As the curtain went up on the Rite of Spring, audiences were aghast. They had come to the theater expecting to hear something like Scheherazade or Cleopatra, a beautiful classical piece of ballet music. Instead, they heard a high, strangled bassoon solo and dissonant, pulsating chords. The dancers were knock-kneed and had their hair in braids, and instead of arabesquing and pliéing, they were jumping up and down and hopping from side to side. Audiences immediately began to hiss and soon got on top of their seats and threw tomatoes at the musicians and dancers on stage. It turned into a full-out riot. Or did it? The story of the Rite of Spring riot has burned itself into music history's consciousness. It's the first thing anyone thinks of when they think of the piece. But that riot Stravinsky described, well, it may have never actually happened. Before we get into dissecting the truth, let me tell you about 3 characters you really need to know. First, Igor Stravinsky, the composer. Second, Sergei Diaghilev, the producer. And finally, Nijinsky, the choreographer. Stravinsky was a Parisian darling at the time of the Rite of Spring's premiere. He'd just come off 2 really successful ballets with the Ballet Russe. He could do no wrong in the eyes of the Parisian public. Sergei Diaghilev, the producer, was well known for being a demanding and detail-oriented behind-the-scenes worker. But Nijinsky, he was a little bit more controversial. In fact, Nijinsky got into a little bit of trouble only a year earlier when he had choreographed the ballet premiere of Debussy's Prelude to the Afternoon of a Faun, another piece you'll be hearing on this program from the Billings Symphony. In fact, his choreography to Prelude to the Afternoon of a Faun was so controversial that a review from the night after it premiered accused the choreography of public indecency. People got so steamed up over it that the Parisian police had to come to the second night of performances. Now, the police didn't find anything indecent about the choreography, but some maintain Nijinsky actually changed it from the first night to the second to make sure he wouldn't get written up. Nijinsky's choreography was so controversial that it had real staying power. In fact, it would come back into popularity decades later when Queen used the choreography Nijinsky invented for this piece in their 1984 music video for the song, "I Want to Be Free." Nijinsky's choreography, it was controversial, at best. But Stravinsky and Diaghilev weren't afraid of controversy. In fact, sometimes controversy can be really good for business. Stravinsky and Diaghilev wanted to set themselves apart. The Rite of Spring wasn't really all that different from the other avant-garde music happening in Paris at the same time. When there happened to be a little bit of audience pushback the night of May 29th, 1913, Diaghilev, Stravinsky, and Nijinsky capitalized on it. In later interviews, they would refer to this moment as a watershed in their careers. After the premiere of the Rite of Spring, Stravinsky was able to craft himself as a cutting-edge modernist composer, and Diaghilev positioned the Ballet Russe as a bastion of all things avant-garde and dance-related. They were able to create a riot out of a little bit of controversy. Whether or not the riot that Stravinsky described occurred on the scale that he described it is definitely up for debate. But what we do know for sure is that Stravinsky, Diaghilev, and Nijinsky were cunning businessmen who knew that a little bit of controversy could go a long way. Even if the riot never happened the way they said it did, it colors perceptions of the Rite of Spring even today. So, when you go to the Billings Symphony concert to hear this landmark piece of modernist music, remember the rioting tales of Stravinsky, Nijinsky, and Diaghilev. But please refrain from throwing tomatoes at our symphony players. Thank you so much for joining me. If you want to hear Igor Stravinsky tell the story of opening night in his own words, I've linked some interviews with the composer in the description below. If you're a fan of Queen and you want to see the choreography Nijinsky did for Prelude to the Afternoon of a Faun, you can also see that in the description below. If you learned something new in this video, please like and subscribe to the Billings Symphony channel so you too can keep up with the tempo. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you at the concert.